Chair, it's 1 p.m. Shall we ask William to start the live stream? Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. William will let us know when we are live.
Chair, we are now live.
Thank you very much. Okay, welcome to this virtual licensing subcommittee meeting that is being conducted by members, officers and members of the public at various locations, communicating via audio, video and online. There's also the opportunity for the public and the press to listen and view the proceedings.
Sorry, Chair. We have a bit of feedback.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this any better? Okay, so let me grab some headphones quickly and a microphone. Did you get me one of the kids' ones?
I have made sure everyone's on mute now, Chair, so hopefully I think it's stopped now. So if you could resume, sorry, from where you got to.
Not a problem, I shall restart. My apologies, everybody. Okay, welcome to this virtual licensing subcommittee meeting that is being conducted with members, officers and members of the public at various locations, communicating via audio, video and online. There's also the opportunity for the public and press to listen and view the proceedings. Before the meeting starts, I'd like to invite the committee member and scrutiny officer to explain how proceedings will work and to confirm that members and officers are in attendance.
Chair, we're still getting a lot of feedback. Is everyone else getting feedback? Not just me.
Oh.
Unfortunately, Anna, I think it might be you.
Yeah, I'm not hearing.
Okay.
I'm not hearing
Sorry,
feedback,
carry on.
but I am hearing a distant echo, which is not a problem.
I am just getting a different set of headphones and microphones, so hopefully that will help. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Yeah, the beats will work. Yeah. Okay, while we are waiting for Anna's headphones to set up for her to make her statement, I believe that Councillor North wanted to make a minuted statement ahead of us beginning. So, Councillor North, if you want to take advantage of that now.
Thanks very much, Chair. I'll be very, very brief. These licensing panels are held to ensure complete transparency of the process regarding our licensing in North Hertfordshire. In the process of setting up these panels, members of the licensing committee are asked to attend. Clearly, we know that we have a polling day and an election coming up tomorrow, of which Councillor Allen's partner is standing, and I wish her the very best of luck in that election. And we have a number of other councillors who also are standing, including myself. However, it is clear that there are a number of Conservative councillors who felt that it was inappropriate to attend this meeting, and they made very pointed statements relating to their refusal to attend this meeting. And so I will be raising to the Chair of Overview and Scrutiny those issues as to why they refused to attend the meeting on the basis of the processes that we carry out now, and why they refused to use their councillor allowance to attend this meeting.
I do understand that. It is a little bit political, this is a non-political thing.
No, Chair, I just want it minuted for this meeting due to the fact that this is a subcommittee of the licensing committee. And I want that to be
I do agree with that, and I think it's a real shame they weren't able to attend, as also we weren't able to have our fourth member. So, Anna, do you have your self back on? I think she's just trying to relaunch. So I'm going to cover...
Chair, if I can be of some assistance, I have the officer speech to hand. So
excellent. Would you please do the officer's speech for us then, Will, so that we can get going? Thank you.
Please note that the meeting is being streamed live onto YouTube and recorded via Zoom. When your name is called, please indicate your attendance to confirm that you are present, can hear and be heard. We'll start with our councillors. Councillor Allen.
I am here.
Councillor Tyson.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor North.
Here.
Thank you very much. Steve Cobb,
Present.
Teresa Campion.
Here.
Thank you very much. Molly Shields.
Molly's not present today.
Molly's not with us.
Melanie's the case officer today.
Thank you. Melanie Gillespie.
Present.
And Anna, who will be rejoining us with representations. Chris Back.
Present.
Amanda Ashley.
Present.
And Amir Salakia. Mr. Salakia, can you hear us? I will ask you to...
Present, sorry.
Thank you very much.
All right. Apology.
Extracts from the remote/partly remote meetings protocol are included with the agenda, and the full version is available on the Council's website, which includes information regarding live streaming, noise interference, the rules of debate, voting, and Part 2 items. Members are requested to ensure that they are familiar with the protocol. The hearing preliminary, which details the arrangements for the hearing, has been uploaded to the internet as a supplement to the agenda. I will just run through this briefly now. The subcommittee consists of 3 voting members participating in the hearing. In the event that any of these voting members lose connection, the hearing will adjourn until connection can be restored. If the adjournment exceeds 10 minutes, or it is apparent sooner that reconnection will not be possible, the chair will make a decision as to when the meeting resumes. In the event that the application loses connection, the hearing will adjourn until the connection can be restored. If it becomes apparent that reconnection will not be possible, the hearing will be adjourned to a stated date. In the event that the responsible authority loses connection, I believe, in fact, we do not have anybody from our responsible authorities, so that's not relevant. The subcommittee will undertake their deliberations in private, and the aim is that they will return to announce their determination on the live stream. However, they will not wait until all parties are connected. A copy of the decision will be forwarded to all parties electronically as soon as practicable, and will be able to be viewed on the Council's YouTube recording of the meeting and uploaded to the Council's website. If, having retired, members believe that the deliberations for a decision will take too long, to avoid parties waiting, they may decide not to announce it live on the day. If this is the case, an announcement will be made to this effect, and the meeting will be closed. The decision would then be announced in writing within 5 working days of the meeting. Are there any questions before we start? Thank you. Councillor Allen.
Thank you very much, Will. Okay, so we have had this described to us, and I've got to ask, is everyone happy to go ahead with the meeting as has been agreed? Yeah? Excellent. Everyone is nodding. I will take that as everybody saying yes. In that case, can I ask the legal advisor to outline the matters for consideration during the course of this hearing?
To myself. So I just unmuted myself. Yes, this is an application for a premises license. It's a new license. So the application is for a new premises license for the block at 23 Churchgate. So it's a matter of whether or not the application is granted by the panel or granted with conditions, or the application refused. So that's the matter that we're considering today.
Excellent. Thank you ever so much, Teresa. I will now ask for the licensing officer's report, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman. Oh, sorry, my computer's just, that's it. Good afternoon, Chairman. There is one administrative correction to the published report that I need to make you aware of. The applicant is listed as Creative Minds Limited. However, the correct company name is Creative Minds CIC, a community interest company. Other than that, there are no amendments to the published report. However, I do have a few comments relevant to today's hearing.
Thank you.
The applicant has provided a short presentation about Creative Minds and its concept that can be shown on the screen during the applicant's submission. This can be made available to the subcommittee during their deliberations if requested. You will have seen from the report that some of the representations have sections that have been redacted. A summary of the reasonings for the main redactions is included in the report at paragraphs 8.7 to 8.11. I remind all parties that any redacted information cannot be discussed today at today's hearing, and any oral contributions from other persons must relate specifically to relevant areas of their representation or an expansion of those points. New information not included in the written representation cannot be introduced during the hearing. The licensing process should determine how the use of the premises can be managed and what activities, if any, are appropriate in relation to the narrow consideration of the 4 licensing objectives. Any matters not relating to one of the licensing objectives are not relevant to today's hearing and must not be discussed or considered. The licensing objective raised in the representations is the prevention of public nuisance. This relates to nuisance coming from or associated with the premises and can cover matters of noise, light, litter, or odour. Examples are music or people noise coming from the premises or noise nuisance directly associated with the premises, such as vehicle or people noise outside the premises. Although this is a new premise licence application, there is a history of previous licence usage. However, the subcommittee should be cautious of the weight they apportion to that today. They should consider the impact or likely impact on the licensing objectives of the proposed activities, timings of this specific application based on the operating schedule provided by the applicant, including conditions agreed with the police. The poor management of previous occupants should not be considered as part of your determination today. Members should be aware that there would be a right to review the licence in respect of any issues relating to the 4 licensing objectives should you be minded to grant a licence today. However, if you believe the likelihood of an adverse impact on the licensing objectives would be unreasonable to the residents, you are entitled to reflect that in your decision today. During the consultation period, the applicant agreed additional operating schedule conditions with the police that allowed them not to make a representation. The application was amended to incorporate those agreements and to assist the subcommittee. The revised application is summarised in Appendix E. It is the revised application that the subcommittee is being asked to determine today. The subcommittee should be aware of the deregulation of the entertainment and reminded that live and recorded music is deregulated on an alcohol licence premises between the hours of 800 hours and 2300 hours, provided alcohol is available for sale. The outside area of the premises should be treated in the same way as a beer garden of a pub, insofar as restrictions on patronage usage are permitted where appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. The inside of the premises is subject to the deregulation, and live and recorded music cannot be restricted between the hours of 800 hours and 2300 hours, provided alcohol is available for sale. If alcohol is not available for sale, live music can still be provided as part of the if alcohol is not available for sale, live music can still be provided as part of the deregulation between those hours. However, recorded music would still be licensable. We're happy to answer any specific questions now or at any time during the hearing at your discretion, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further representations that have come through from environmental health at all?
I'll answer that one with your permission, Chair. No,
Yes, please.
All of the information that's available to assist with your decision is in the pack.
Excellent. Just want to double check that now. Do we have any questions of the licensing officer from any of the persons that are here today that are not the applicant?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Back.
Sorry, the renewed license application is in Appendix E, but you've also have Appendix A, which I believe was the original application. Is that still relevant?
Through me, I'm going to ask for that to be double reassessed by our licensing manager.
Yeah, Chair, again, with your permission, Appendix A was the original application. Appendix E is purely a summary of Appendix A with the additional conditions agreed by the police.
Okay, I have a follow-up, if I may. In Section M of Appendix A, steps you intend to take to promote licensing objectives. They presumably still form part of the application. Can I ask if they are binding, or are they merely expressions of good intent?
Nothing is binding until we have agreed the license, but that is what is going to be put into consideration. But E is the one that overtakes A. And I will just confirm that again with the licensing manager.
You're exactly correct in what you say, Chair. Your discretion is wide today based on the representations before you. Insofar as the comments included in Section M of the applications are concerned, they do still form part of the application, but they will not be reproduced word for word on the licence. They will be reassessed after the subcommittee's decision today, because obviously there's no point in reproducing statements in there that have been covered by the police conditions or any conditions that the subcommittee feel appropriate if they're minded to grant a licence. And anything in there that is relevant to the licence and relevant to the licensing objectives and is proportionate and enforceable will form part of any final licence should the panel be minded to grant one today.
Thank you very much. Okay. So what I would like now is, if you're both happy with the questions that you've asked, can I ask if the applicant has got any questions at all for our officer?
No, thank you.
Okay, that was short and sweet. Okay, do any members of the subcommittee have any questions of the licensing officer? No, I do not. Oh, yep, Sam, please go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. It's just one brief question before we start. I noticed in some of the representations towards the end of our report pack, there is a statement that says that during previous temporary licenses being given, there have been no reports of any noise nuisances at all with relation to this venue. Can we just check whether there have been any noise complaints in the past, and if so, how many, please?
If the past, it's only this particular licensee.
If it relates to this license, I understand it relates to the same.
And it has to be formally acknowledged, not just word of mouth. So it's ones that have been reported to the police or to environmental health. I will ask that of our licensing team now.
Chair, if it may assist, as we have a representation from Environmental Health, I think it would be appropriate for Environmental Health to address that during their presentation.
That would be excellent. Okay, thank you very much. Sir, Mr. Salakia, I apologise if I've mispronounced your surname. Excellent. This question is not going to be, you're welcome to make a statement now if you wish, or a comment, but if it's not about a formally recorded noise complaint, I'm afraid it won't be valid right now. And I'm afraid you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it is formally recorded. Recorded complaints, yes. There are recorded complaints, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, we shall definitely get those from Environmental Health in just a moment. Thank you very much. Okay, in that case, Sam, are you happy to wait for the Environmental Health? Yeah, I can see that's a nod.
Yes,
Okey-dokey. Thank you very much. Okey-dokey. The next thing is the applicant's case. Would you like to please present your submission to the subcommittee?
That's me, yeah.
It is indeed, Amanda, thank you.
Right. I've submitted slides that you may have already seen, but the Block Community Hub is a creative resource space in Hitchin Town Centre. It's run by a community interest company called Creative Minds. The main aim of the hub is to support block training. Block training is a vocational training programs and positive activities for young people at risk of exclusion and exploitation in the community. We use our resources to create additional income. All profits support the work with young people. We use music production, spoken word, gym sessions and hospitality skills to engage with our learners and address functional skills and behavioural issues. The hub is funded by a limited amount of monies which we receive from the schools where the young people have been excluded from, or many of them aren't even excluded, they're just out on alternative timetables. We've now been operating events through the temporary, we have up until now been operating events through temporary event notices. I refer to slides 1 and 2 submitted in the bundles to give an example of what we do. Continuation of our service in the community is relevant on the hire of our venue for private functions.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Could we have community services put up the images at this time? Please go ahead, Amanda.
My name is Amanda Ashley. I've been working with young people in North Hertfordshire for 25 years, providing alternative education for young people. I've been awarded the High Sheriff's Award twice, and I've been a runner-up for an International Crime Protection Award, coming second to a project in South Africa. I'm also a lead safeguarding trustee of a charity based in London called Paragon Project. I also have 35 years experience of working in the nighttime economy locally and abroad. I'm a personal licence holder and have never been subject to a review of a licence I've managed. I am not aware of any local authority complaints or action plans in regards to noise, disorder or safety against this premises. The location of the multi-use venue is on Churchgate, a town centre location as mapped in both the map view and the satellite view on slide 4 and 5. Yeah. Submitted in advance. As you can see, we're in close proximity to other town centre premises, Biggin Lane car park and the market. Many of the town centre licensed premises operate 7 days a week, with some permitting operating until 3 AM. The Biggin Lane car park has 72 car parking spaces and operates 24 hours. The market is open Tuesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and this is a busy town centre area. We have been operating private events licensed under temporary event notices for approximately 20 events since Creative Minds took over the operating of the block in 2019. We are not aware of any noise complaints made formally or otherwise for these events. We have been acting responsibly in operating these tents, and our operation plan is no different to operating with a premises licence. There's not been any timing restrictions for the use of the outdoor terrace within these tents. We wish to continue operating in the same way that we've been operating the tents for private hire only. I refer to 6 and 7 as submitted, slide 6 and 7 as submitted in advance in your bundle. The type of event hire we advertise is as follows. It's baby showers, brunches, engagement parties, wedding receptions, film screening, book launches, live music, plays and rehearsal space, and community events. Whilst we are not looking to trade every day, we're certainly not looking to trade every day, we would like the flexibility to be able to offer the venue for hire every day as detailed in the operating schedule in your bundle. The outside terrace is an essential selling point for our operation, particularly in the summer. We have created a welcoming and pleasurable outside space for our private bookings. The outside terrace is a large space of 159 square metres, although our risk assessment allows much more based on 1 person per square metre, and even by reducing the occupancy to suit sufficient fire exits, we are only allowing us occupancy of 60 people because of the type of events by bookings we are taking are suited to a more relaxed, spacious environment. With regards to the licence objectives, we do not expect any crime and disorder from the premises from the licence being granted today. However, we have agreed 21 conditions proposed by the police licensing officer to support the licensing objective of the prevention of crime and disorder. The 21 agreed conditions are listed in the bundle on page 55 and 56 and include CCTV operation and coverage, outdoor space ending at 10 p.m. with regular checks throughout operation, SIA door staff, refusals and incident logbooks, open vessels not leaving the premises. Challenge 25, no ID, no sale and events not taking place during times when the premises is holding educational facilities. We understand our responsibilities under existing legislation. The venue has its own health and safety policy and a fire safety policy. A fire risk assessment has been carried out and we've had an advisory visit from the fire service. Occupancy levels have been inherited but now have been newly calculated using the square metre calculation for 1 person per square metre and then reducing where necessary where exits are taken into consideration. When the terrace is operating, plastic drinks vessels will be used. Prevention of noise. Prominent clear notices shall be displayed on all exits, requesting customers and staff to respect the needs of local residents and leave the premises and area quietly. The DPS will ensure sufficient measures are taken to prevent any noise on the premises causing nuisance or disturbance to nearby noise-sensitive properties. The outside area of the roof terrace will close at 2200 hours. The DPS or other management or staff on duty will take reasonable steps to prevent and control noise nuisance caused by persons using the premises and also ensure patrols and visitors arrive and depart from the premises in a manner which will not cause annoyance to nearby noise-sensitive properties. Our educational courses include music production, which teaches that loud is not good, good quality sound is not loud. Speakers are positioned to direct sound into the building rather than the outside. As an educational project, we have full safeguarding policies. All staff are DBS checked, and there is a safeguarding officer for both our project and as a trustee of a charity. All children attending private events will leave the premises before 9:30 and must be accompanied by an adult, unless it is a specific under 18s events where no alcohol will be permitted or on display. Under 18s will not be permitted in the immediate bar area unless the bar is not serving alcohol. Challenge 25 initiative is to prevent the sales of alcohol to persons under 18 years of age will be implemented at the premises. Signage will be prominently displayed within the premises, advertising the fact that we operate within the Challenge 25 initiative. With the representations, we have taken into account representations from the local residents, and we do not want to cause any necessary distress. The entire service we provide to the community in the way that we do for no profit completely contradicts the implication that we want to upset local residents. We have operated under approximately 20 tens in the last 18 months since we have taken over the management of premises. We have not formally received a complaint direct to the venue, and we are unaware of any noise complaints made to the local authority. We are happy to provide a manned mobile phone service to local residents, association or individual residents so they can raise any concerns immediately. There is reference to an outside bar on the residents' representation. To clarify, there is no bar on the terrace, and nor will there be any bar on the terrace. And it's not shown on the plan submitted either. To the representation from North Herts District Council Environmental Protection, the representation does not make any reference to complaints in relation to the 10, so I can only assume there have been no noise complaints, and therefore point 1 is subjective, and there is no evidence to support. The representation refers in point 2 to similar establishments in the location having a 9 o'clock restriction. I've checked the North Herts Public Register in regards to external areas. Sun Hotel has no outside drinking after 11 p.m. The Market Theatre has no outside restrictions. Bricklayers Arms is 11 p.m. Outside areas need to be closed. Chic, no drinks permitted in the outside areas after 1 o'clock. The Half Moon, no outdoor restrictions. Picture and Piano, 10 p.m. Highlander, no outdoor restrictions. That they're getting a bit further away now, so we'll ignore those. In point 3, the representation refers to the reduction of background noise at night, likely to enhance noise of, likely to enhance the noise created by events, is also subjective, and I would challenge that given the information on other licensed premises. As our target market for event bookings is for daytimes running into evenings, closure of the outside area at 10 p.m. with live or amplified music will be turned off at 9:30 is sufficient for our operation. A 9 p.m. restriction is disproportionate and overburdensome and would put us at a disadvantage in relation to the other premises. On behalf of Creative Minds Community Interest Company and the Block Community Hub, I hope you can grant a licence today to enable the continuation of funding for the work that we do in the community, and also to provide job opportunities, including licensees, bar staff, waiting staff, event staff, door staff and entertainers. I'm a responsible and experienced operator, and I wish to operate this premises as a licensed premises as part of the community. I have no intention to upset local residents. We are keen to be a real positive part of the community with a local solution to hold an outdoor space available for hire. We have agreed 21 conditions as suggested by the police, and I would ask that other conditions they consider today are not disproportionate and overburdening. Thank you for listening. That's our presentation.
Sorry, my apologies, I was on mute there. Thank you very much. That did cover everything quite well. I will now ask if any member of the subcommittee has any questions at all. Anybody? Councillor Tyson.
My hand up, Chair.
Sorry, I apologise.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to pursue, if I may, the theme of the outdoor space and the potential for a noise nuisance. You actually answered one of the questions that I had during your presentation, which was how many of the TENS licenses had you had so far in those 18 months? And I think you said 20. Were those all for, or some of them for outdoor events?
No, we had 10 for outdoor events, and that was mainly last summer through the lockdown, through the easing of restrictions. And they went from, they started in July, the 14th of July was the first one, and they went through various dates, August to September.
Thank you. Anything else, Councillor Tyson?
Yeah, just a couple, if I may.
Please do.
In your submission, you said you've stated that the indoor space has got room for 120 people, and I was just wondering whether on a hot evening event with temperatures rising indoors, whether there'd be a tendency to sort of leak outside or open the door to the outside area to get some extra ventilation in, because I think you said that the indoor room is ventilated with ceiling fans, so it might be tempting for people to try and get outside to cool off a little bit. Would that be a risk? And if so, what would you do to prevent it happening?
Absolutely not. We have door staff when we have all our events. The door staff are positioned in front of the door, the two doors, because we've got 2 fire exits from the inside room. There are ceiling fans. There's also it's a very large space we've got here. And the smoking area is downstairs to the front of the building. So once the roof is shut, the roof is shut. There's more staff at the doors, and people are directed downstairs to the front of the building for a smoke if they want cigarettes.
Okay, thank you.
And most of the
most
of the events we do, if we have an event on the roof, they don't then continue inside. They finish at 10 o'clock and they go home.
Okay.
So we wouldn't really have that situation, hopefully.
All right, so I just had one question about that specifically as well, which I think you've more or less addressed. Was there ever going to be a situation where you'd have simultaneously separate events indoors and outdoors?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
And then just one more, if I may, about the terrace. And you said that the speakers on the terrace are directed away from the residential area. So these are the speakers that would be used to reproduce background music, as you put it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's two PA speakers, which is they're not. I mean, PA speakers are for a singer. Normally used for an acoustic singer. So they're not massive speakers. There's no bass particularly on them. Yeah, they're mainly for one person.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
What power are the speakers, please?
I knew you were going to ask me that. They are, I'm going to say 1200 watt, but I'm not going to swear to it.
Okay. I won't hold you to that, don't worry.
No, I can go and look if you want, but I can't.
No, I'm a DJ, so understanding sound volume levels.
They're not DJ speakers, so.
Yeah, it's all down to the wattage.
Yeah.
Right. Councillor Tyson, do you have any other questions?
Well, actually, that was my last question. You've asked it for me, so.
Thank you very much. Councillor North, do you have any questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay, I do have a couple, please.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to make sure that the 120 people that are attending an event that also has access to the terrace, you don't have too many people coming onto the terrace? This is what Councillor Tyson was saying. So are you saying that your door staff will be constantly counting with a clicker, or?
We wouldn't have that. If somebody was hiring the roof terrace, it would be 60 inside and out. They wouldn't have the option of having 120 people inside and then 60 on the roof.
Excellent, thank you. Is one of the big questions that I had. So at the moment, music-wise on the roof, you're having background music and acoustic music.
Yeah.
So would you be willing to fit a sound limiter, which is going to be difficult on an external building, I know, but to keep a certain volume with the outside space to, say, an acoustic level, which would generally be around about 80 decibels?
Depending on cost, yes. I mean, you know, we do these events to raise funds, additional funds.
As you can probably see, we are generally seeing the way that you've put this application forward as a very positive thing. However, the questions that are coming up are purely about this roof terrace and the effect that it is going to have on the neighbours. This is why I'm asking specifically about that, and I believe also why Councillor Tyson was also following up that line of questioning.
Yeah, we can certainly look into the cost of it, and as long as the cost isn't prohibitive.
I believe we may have just lost Councillor North. Can I confirm whether we need to pause proceedings, please?
Could we just pause for a moment while we try and get him back, please, Chair?
I do apologise for the interruption, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, we'll just adjourn for 2 minutes while we give him a phone call because he's dropped out. Thanks.
Just to update you, Chair and members of the panel, Councillor North has had some IT difficulties. He is reconnecting as we speak. If we don't see him in the next couple of minutes, I will come back to you.
Again, my apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back as soon as we can.
Chair, Councillor North has rejoined the meeting. Councillor North, can you hear?
Hi everyone, sorry, my laptop decided to update Windows. Just
Okay, no problems at all. In that case, Amanda, I'm very sorry for interrupting you. If we could just reiterate that question for Sam as he was away. I was asking about speaker levels and about levels of decibels and whether you'd be willing to have a sound meter. And you've said that that would be dependent on cost.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's something that's going to be hugely prohibitive.
Okay. Well,
again, with us, everything depends on cost due to.
I think I don't think I have any other questions, actually. I think I'm actually quite happy with where I am on this. Thank you very much. So unless any other members have come up with any questions that they hadn't thought of before? No? Okay. In that case, I will ask, please, if the subcommittee have any questions for environmental protection. Yes, Sam.
Yeah, only to re-ask the question that I asked earlier regarding any formal complaints that have been received.
Thank you.
And Chair, sorry to interrupt, but it's also the opportunity for Environmental Health to make their presentation, which they haven't done yet.
It is my apologies.
That's all right. Okay, thank you, Chair. Essentially, you know, our approach essentially is obviously prevention better than cure, and based on the complaints we received, if I'm honest, I don't know how many events was held between July and August, but we had one multiple complaints on 28th of July about the music, loud shouting, allegation of drug use, which obviously that's not for me to comment, but these were the complaints received by a number of residents, as I said, on 28th of July. And actually, I'm reading from it. It says increasing unacceptably loud noise level of non-stop club music from outside the speaker and loud shouting from customers, probably to be heard over the speakers. As the customers talk louder, the noise increases, and so on. And is now 1824, and this began at 14 hours. I'm sitting in my garden. I can't hear anything else but club music. The volume I would need to play any device that I have in order to drown this noise and so on. And then the next one, which was on 1st of August, is in a similar vein, is now 11:05, and weekly we are having to close doors from the volume of the noise, the speakers, people, and even the smell from drugs from this establishment, the volume of people outside, and so on. So essentially, I think we've taken a pragmatic view of, obviously, the regulation. We have not taken any other thing into account, and our experience of, as I said in my response, the longer the night dawns, the background noise is subsiding, and therefore we thought 9 o'clock close is a good, if you like, compromise, if you will, to this, considering the whole scenario and actually I have commented on the application and the action plan within the application. Considering that, we thought it is reasonable to seek to finish the use of outside terraces by 9 o'clock, and that is essentially our view on it. There is nothing else I can say. And the only thing I can say is I have tried to establish, because the officers who dealt with this complaint, unfortunately, is no longer with North Hart. I am very, very new. I'm covering for the manager of the team, and I haven't been established whether this has been how this can relate to the at the time or after that. So I can't find anything else in terms of communication between Miss Ashley and the officer. I'm afraid I have to be honest about that. But I have the record as it is on our system, and I have actually read from it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will now ask if there are any questions of the environmental officer from our subcommittee members. Yes, Sam.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much, Mr. Salakia, for your presentation. I just wanted a bit of clarification on those reports that you gave. Can you just clarify the timings that those complaints were received and what time they relate to, please?
Yeah.
I think you said, was it 6 o'clock in the July 1 and 11 o'clock? Was that AM or PM?
Actually, my apologies here. I do apologise to both of you. I have done this in the wrong order. We need to ask the questions afterwards. I do apologise. I would ask now, and I am sorry again, as far as this goes, that if we have any questions from Mr. Back to the officer first.
No specific questions, no. I have some comments, but I'll come to those in my representation.
Thank you very much. And any comments or questions from Amanda?
Yeah, can you confirm the dates, please? Because I don't seem to have I've had a license on one of those dates that you mentioned.
I'm afraid you're muted again.
Used to this, keep muting. Sorry. Let me just check it for precisely for the date.
So I thought a Tuesday, the 28th of July seemed an unusual date.
Complaint.
Yeah.
This is, as I said, I'm referring to the actual system. 18th of 7, sorry, I apologize, I said 27. 18th of the 7th, 2020, 1/8.
Excellent. Okay.
What time was that?
The time, have I got a time in here? No, but going by the text, it says, you know, on the actual text of the complaint, it says, it is now 1824, 6:24, obviously on the 18th of July. That the first one I said.
And you said it had been going since 2 o'clock.
Yes, and this began at 2 o'clock, 14 p.m. Yeah.
And what was the August date, please?
August date. 1st of August, 2020, and is now 11:05. And weekly we are having to close doors from the volume of noise, the speakers, people, and so on.
I didn't have weekly licenses, and I don't appear to have one for the 1st of August.
So it refers to I'm having a week. We are weekly are having to close the door. So whether it's a figure of speech, I don't know, but this is actually text that is being raised on the system.
I think the issue there is the fact that on that date they had to close the doors at that time. Whether it was a weekly thing or not is irrelevant.
No, but I don't appear to have a license for the 1st of August, so I don't think we wouldn't have had an event. I need to double check back in my life. Perhaps Steve can check that for me, Steve Cobb.
Did you have a booking on that date though?
Not according to the list I've got in front of me, no.
Okay. Right, now.
But we also weren't made aware of either of those by...
I was trying to establish that, if I'm honest. I haven't been able to. I have to be straight and open about it. And I've tried to trace it back to how far the officers taken the complaint, but I can't trace it, whether you've been informed, discussed, or whatever.
Okay.
I mean,
thank you.
Regardless, essentially, what we're saying, therefore, regardless of this, I think we believe, with previous experiences, not in this scenario particularly, 9 o'clock for that kind of scenario, it is a reasonable timing, and therefore it will certainly prevent for us to carry out a huge investigation with a huge kind of stuff to see whether it's a nuisance exists and all the rest of it. So 9 o'clock we felt is a reasonable time, and therefore we could have essentially kind of support it. That's really what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you very much. Do members, may I ask, do you have any other further questions of the officer?
No.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor North, I do apologise for interrupting you earlier. Do you have questions for the officer?
No, not a problem. Yeah, it's just still one clarification from the August date. Was it 11 o'clock in the morning, or was it 11 o'clock in the evening, or is it not clarified on that report?
Well, it says 11:04, and it doesn't really clarify. I can go back, and if it helps, to see whether I am I don't want to put the definitive sort of.
if you are able to clarify, because my slight concern is that I want to ensure that if we are considering noise complaints, we can 100% link them to this venue and not just to the general area. I think that's very important for fairness of both the applicant.
Can I make a phone call and get one of my officers to do a little bit of investigation while you're on? Sorry.
If I can just ask, I believe our manager Steve Cobb would like to come in at this point.
Sorry, Chair. Can I just check that the date in discussion is the 1st of August that we're trying to establish? Yeah, I've just called up on the system. There was a temporary event notice granted for the 1st of August from 1700 to 22:30. However, can I also remind the committee that the temporary event notice would only cover the sale of alcohol because it finished by 22:30. And so the music was deregulated and wouldn't be subject to a license at that time anyway.
Thank you ever so much. And can I also ask you, Steve, would you be able to confirm that there was a TENS in place on the 28th of July?
18th, sorry.
18th, my apologies. Yeah, I didn't update what I'd written down there. 18th of July.
I will check that one for you, Chair.
Appreciated. Thank you very much. While Steve is checking that, do you have any other follow? Sorry, Amanda.
Sorry, there was on the 18th of July.
Thank you. If you could just mute for the moment, though, please. Councillor North, did you have any further questions?
Yeah, I just had one further question. Again, in one of the reports, you raised concerns over drugs. Is there, apart from in that complaint, is there any evidence at all to back claims that the premises has any link with drugs or anything like that, or drugs have been used on the premises at all?
I'm afraid you're still muted, sir.
Apology. No, essentially no. Apart from that report, we don't have any other record or evidence.
That would be unsubstantiated then, so not something that we need to bear in mind, especially since we've had no comment from the police on this.
Sure.
Okay. Councillor Tyson, do you have any questions? Sorry. Yes, Mr.
Did you want me to go back to check or after?
I believe our manager, Steve Cobb, is covering that. If you can find out if it was morning or afternoon, that would be very, very helpful to us. But first, if I can let Councillor Tyson make his calls, and then we can come back to you afterwards to save people time.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not sure if this is a valid question or just a remark, but it seems to me that if I'm just trying to figure out what this cut-off point of 9 p.m. really implies, because if there's a problem with a noise nuisance from, say, for example, in that case that was quoted from 2 p.m. until 6:24 p.m., stopping the music at 9 p.m. instead of 9:30 isn't really going to address the issue. So I just wondered whether we should be looking at some other means of addressing it.
Would you like to come back on that, Mr. Salakia? Sorry.
Sure. No, I think, as Steve said, this is deregulated. The music is not something we can say, but this was basically in terms of, in the spirit of, cooperation. We are saying, you said about 9 o'clock. I think essentially if it's 9 o'clock, it's 8:30 essentially. So therefore, it's say, families that have got kids, there are things. So essentially, it's really help out with reducing any potential nuisance rather than, you're absolutely right. We are talking about half an hour here, half an hour there, but this is actually to being seen as a reasonable and therefore acceptable level of, considering everything else, acceptable level of kind of perhaps noise. And also even then at that time, around that time, still there are background noises which may not, kind of exacerbate any issue. So that was the really the rationale between 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock close, 8:30 obviously generally finishing. So therefore that was the rationale.
And my question to follow up from that, Tom, if it's okay, if we have that as a 9 o'clock and 8:30 finish, of course, the applicant would be able to apply for a TENS if there were any specific events that they wanted to have as a later night.
Precisely, exactly that.
Thank you. Tom, did you have any other further questions?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In that case, I believe that is all the questions that we have for you at the moment. If you would be willing to make that phone call to confirm the time of the complaint, that would be very helpful to us. Thank you very much. So I now would ask for Mr. Back, if you would like to make your statement.
Thank you very much. I don't intend to read my written submission out to you. I hope you've all read it. But I'd like to perhaps start with a little bit of context. As indicated, the main concern is noise, and understood that we in Gilgrave Place, myself and my neighbours, live very close to the town centre, and there are all sources of noise from all over the place, early morning market deliveries and so on, other premises. And it's never going to be quiet, but every extra source of noise is an extra disturbance and sometimes an annoyance. So it seems sometimes to us like a constant battle to try and keep a cap on possible new sources of noise. Secondly, formal complaints. There does, for individuals listening here, I hear something, let's refer to another establishment, the Sun Hotel, which we're all familiar with.
We are, but that is not relevant in this case.
No, I wish to merely give you an example of how I respond to something. When they have a function in their upper room, some days they have the window open, some days they don't. Sometimes I think it's worth complaining, sometimes I don't. I just live with it. And it is my reaction that sometimes on a one-off basis, it's not worth making a formal complaint, and I would wait for a pattern of problem to emerge before complaining. So based on a number of events through the summer of varying natures, if there's been no pattern of disturbance, it is possible that people wouldn't complain. That's a general observation for you to take into account. So bearing in mind that then the main concern is possible disturbance from noise, I think primarily I want to address that this could come from the terrace. I'll deal with inside in a moment. And that terrace is close and it's in direct line of sight, and sound travels in direct lines. I understand that there are boards up with gaps and that speakers can be directed away. There is a direct line of sight from, in fact, all of my bedroom windows to those gaps in the soundboards. So sound can travel directly there. I personally like a quiet life. You might say I'm living in the wrong place, but I would ask for two restrictions. I think 9 p.m. is late enough. There's noise throughout the day from various sources, but in terms of groups of people out on the terrace making noise, it would be good for that to drop off, and similar restrictions have been applied to other premises. But I'm particularly concerned about the activities other than just people being out there enjoying themselves, the requests for licenses for performances and other activities, many of which could include amplified sound. Now, in respect of live music, I realize that already offered that would be unamplified only, but that doesn't alter the fact that we've referred to the possible film performances, which presumably use amplified sound, a PA system with a disturbingly large 1200 watt capability, which would obviously be much too loud if turned fully up. but also a recorded music. I personally don't think there's any place for recorded or amplified music outside, so close to other people's premises, but that's my personal opinion. I'd ask that to be taken into account. It does have the potential to cause a lot of disturbance. It can be audible through double glazing, closed doors. I don't expect to be able to open my windows on that side of my house and live with the noise on a Friday or Saturday evening. But the noise penetrates from various establishments and from various sources at various different levels. And we are just very close. And therefore, I don't believe that allowing amplified music so close to these houses is a good idea. I'm concerned about the types of events that have been mentioned, because although there might be some innocuous, shall we say, events, groups of people celebrating a 60th birthday party or whatever, unless conditions are written into the license, the types of event for which the outdoor space is used could be anything. I just think there's a scope for creep there in terms of usage and disturbance. Coming to indoors, the previous experience, and I realize that we're not allowed to discuss how previous users of the premises have abused or otherwise behaved.
Are not, and we will not.
We will not. I can just state that as a matter of fact, it is possible for music to be played in those premises and be audible in my living room over the sound of my television. So it all depends on the volume. As you said, it's all about the power and the volume. Now, it's also, I can state as a matter of fact, but it's just my personal testimony, that with having the door open makes a considerable difference. And so it's very important to me that any sound systems and various things inside are both limited in terms of the amount of bass that is produced and the noise. It's bass that carries through walls, and that also that conditions be imposed to require doors to be kept closed. I'm pleased to hear that there's no plans for simultaneous indoor and outdoor separate events. So I don't imagine that there'd be sound production work going on when there's an event on the terrace. But if there were an event on the terrace, a door would be opening several times a minute, I'm sure, with 60 people coming and going to buy drinks, use toilets or whatever. So a promise to keep a door closed is not terribly meaningful when there's a large amount of traffic going through it. So to summarize, I don't believe that amplified sound should be allowed on the terrace at any time. And secondly, I'd ask that that at an arbitrary time, I agree, of 9 o'clock, that the terrace use be ended, just to give us some break. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do anybody on our committee have any question? I believe we have got the response now from Mr. Sakir for what was going on with the times of the complaint.
Yes, it is 11:04 p.m. That was an online submission, so it was. So essentially, although it was, as they said, the 10th of 22:30, it still obviously was going on at 11:04 p.m. So that's, I can confirm it was 11:04 p.m.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Right. Next. No, I'm afraid not. You can't, I'm afraid. Sorry. Do we have any questions for Mr. Back from our subcommittee? No. Okay. You've obviously put across your case very, very well, sir. So, having gone over that, we are now going to come to our closing statements. Can our licensing officer please make any final submissions to the subcommittee?
Thank you, Chair. Where to start? I have so much to say, but I will do my best to keep it brief. having listened to all of the oral submissions, there seems to be, it seems to revolve around, is it 10 o'clock, is it 9 o'clock, is it 8 o'clock, when is it actually relevant? And so I've got some comments to make in regard to the outside area and potential limitation of that. Firstly, I remind you of the comments that Melanie made at the start of today's hearing, insofar as between 0800 and 2300 on a licensed premises that's licensed for the sale of alcohol and is selling alcohol, entertainment is deregulated, so you cannot restrict live or recorded music between those hours if alcohol is for sale. If it's purely an entertainment event when there is no alcohol for sale, then you cannot restrict live music because that would still be exempt, but you could restrict recorded music, but only when there was no sale of alcohol between 0800 and 2300. Amanda may wish to impose some self-regulation. As she said, she wants to work with the neighbours, and if she wishes to restrict herself to 10 o'clock for good neighbourly behaviour, then that's perfectly within her remit, but it's not something we can impose as a condition. There was discussions of a noise limiter as well, and all I would advise you in terms of a noise limiter is the council's statement of licensing policy, paragraph E3.2.3, which effectively backs up the national guidance, paragraph 2.17, which is that noise limiters should not be imposed on small venues when it would be financially restricting. And given that any noise limiter condition that you impose wouldn't apply between the hours of 0800 and 2300, you may wish to consider whether that's a financial burden that you think would be appropriate. Also, there's been no exploration of whether the music on the terrace would be background. If there was a DJ out there, or if there was a live band out there, then clearly it's something that could be regulated, assuming it doesn't fall within the deregulation. But if there was an event on the terrace, let's say it's been 18 months since I've been out, and I was not particularly a social animal before that, but say there was just a family get together out on the terrace, and the main point was to be there enjoying the time with your friends and having a drink, and there was a bit of background music, but the music wasn't the reason that you went there, then background music, or incidental music as it's known under the Licensing Act, is not in itself regulated anyway. That's my comments on what's been raised during the course of the hearing. Just my standard 2 comments. Should the subcommittee be minded to grant a licence today, there is a right of review at any time once that licence is in place. The review procedure is very similar to the application procedure in that any person or any responsible authority with evidence directly relating to the impact on the licensing objectives of that licence could request that we review the licence. That would result in a request for representations, as was taking place with this grant application, and another subcommittee would be convened to decide whether or not that licence could continue. They would have a range of issues or options open to them, starting from no action if they felt no action was necessary, right up to the ultimate deterrent of revoking the licence if they believed it was causing such an impact on the licensing objectives that it's no longer continue. And finally, as there is a right of appeal against the subcommittee's hearing today, that right of appeal is to the Magistrates Court, which for this area is Stevenage. So any party to the hearing today, should they not be happy with the subcommittee's decision, would need to contact the clerk to the magistrates within 21 days of receiving the written decision notice, lodging your grounds for appeal and the appeal fee. And we are duty bound to let you know that unlike today's proceedings, which is cost-free, the Magistrates Court does operate on the principle that ordinarily the loser pays the winning side's fees. And so I think it's appropriate to make that known at this stage. Sorry for lengthy comments, but I think they're all may be helpful in your determination, Chair.
As always, I'm sure they will, Steve. Thank you very much. Okay, can I have a closing statement if he would like to make one from Mr. Back?
No, I don't have anything further to add, except to say that I didn't understand whether the point about deregulation applied to outside terrace. If someone could answer that simply, that would be a great help to me.
I'm very happy for that to be answered for you, and I will again ask our most senior person. Steve, can you answer that on our behalf?
Thank you, Chair. The deregulation applies to the premises defined on the licence plan, and as you'll see from the paperwork posted on the council's website, the outside area is within the definition of the premises, so the outside area would be subject to the deregulation.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, Mr. Back. Okay, do we have a final statement from Amanda Ashley, please?
Oops. Yeah, I'd just like to say, especially to Mr. Back, we won't be operating 7 days a week as though we were a pub or anything like that. This is on the odd occasion that we need to increase our funding for our work. You don't know me, but you have my word on that. We are working very hard, and we have worked very hard through lockdown with young people, vulnerable young people, and we wouldn't do anything that would jeopardise that. And also, we don't want to be working at weekends anymore. You know, we work 5 days a week with these young people. We don't want to be doing weekends as well with 60 drunk people just for the sake of we're having to increase our funding, because there is no funding around for work with young people at the moment. So believe me, it won't be every weekend. And if there's things that come my way that I don't like the look of, they won't even get in the door. I'd like a quiet life the same as you, believe me.
Okay, thank you very much. In that case, I believe that we have come to the end of this section, which means I need to open a different page on my computer so that I can give our final rounding up. My apologies, there are so many different bits that I have to open. Okay. So my formal closing at the moment is, sorry guys.
Okay. Excuse me, Chair, I think it's the legal advisor to summarise.
My apologies, the legal advisor to summarise, please. This is one of the things I was just getting to.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Matters that obviously the panel need to consider was obviously the objections have been made on the grounds of, particularly on the grounds of public nuisance. The panel will have to consider whether to grant the licence or grant the conditions or refuse, but we need to consider everything that's being said by all parties and take into consideration, of course, its own licensing policy and the statutory guidance as well. Note the points made by the licensing manager about the Live Music Act and deregulation, that if a licence is granted for the sale of alcohol, live music and recorded music is permitted on the premises from 8 AM to 11 PM. Whatever decision the members of the panel make is subject to appeal to the Magistrates' Court. For the panel members need to give reasons for their decision to say as there is a right to appeal as stated by the licensing manager. If a licence is granted, there are also rights of review, so that wouldn't be the end of the matter. There is rights for review to review a premises licence under the 4 licensing objectives. Unless I can assist any further, those are my comments, Chair.
I don't have anything else that I feel I would need to ask. I know it's slightly unusual, but would anybody of our subcommittee have anything they would like to double check? No? Excellent. Okay, in that case, prior to us going into our private conference, I'd like to invite the committee member and scrutiny officer to explain the next part of the process, please.
Thank you, Chair. The subcommittee will now be retiring to make a decision in private. Public viewing the meeting are welcome to wait to listen to the decision. However, this may take some time. Once the subcommittee has made its decision, it will be announced live on the YouTube live stream and Zoom. If members believe that the decision will take too long to avoid parties waiting, they may decide not to announce the decision live today. If this is the case, an announcement will be made to this effect by the subcommittee and the meeting will be closed. The decision would then be announced in writing within 5 working days of the meeting. So with that, Chair, I'll ask William to open the breakout room and everyone else can stay in the Zoom meeting if they wish.
Thank you. We shall see you soon.
Excuse me, do we need to wait here, or can I just log off and am I needed another word?
I believe, Mr. Salakio, you're free to go, but I can double check that for you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Can I also just remind members of the public that the stream is continuing, so if you do say anything in the chat, you will be heard by our YouTube viewers.
Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We have reviewed all of the information and have made our decision. We shall be publishing the full decision notice, but in short, let me just confirm that everyone can hear me. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so Wednesday, the 5th of May 2021, the members of the panel were Councillor Daniel Allen, Councillor Sam North and Councillor Tom Tyson. The applicant was Creative Minds CIC and the premises address is the Block 23 Churchgate, Hitchin, Hertfordshire, SG5 1D9. The date of the application was the 16th of November. The decision. This is an application for a new premises licence under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. The subcommittee has read the material presented to it and has listened to all evidence and submissions. The subcommittee has considered the national guidance and the statement of licensing policy and has formed the following decision. The subcommittee has decided to grant the application as applied for and detailed in Appendix E of the licensing officer's report. So the effect of failing to comply with these conditions. The effect of failing to comply with any of the conditions attached to the licence or certificate is a criminal offence which upon conviction could result in an unlimited fine of up to 6 months imprisonment or both. The subcommittee has taken into account the guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. I will not read out all the different sections because they will be published on the form. What we have noted, the rationale for our decision, the licensing subcommittee have taken into consideration representations made by environmental health and other parties, but note that the applicant has agreed conditions with the police in Appendix E, which relate to the operating hours of the roof terrace, and that it should close at 10 o'clock PM, 2200 hours. In view of this, the panel feel that they do not need to impose any new conditions in respect of this licence. The subcommittee have also taken into account the revised application incorporating the conditions agreed by the police relating to the 9:30 PM, 2130 hours finishing time for outside performances and screenings. In making this decision, consideration has been given to the Council's statement of licensing policy and the Section 182 guidance of the Licensing Act 2003. This decision takes immediate effect. Right of appeal will be published. I can state it if anybody wishes. No, excellent. All of this will come out on our post of the decision notice. Okay, I believe that brings this meeting to a close. Am I missing anything out at all?
No, I think that's everything, Chair. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for taking the time to come to this meeting. I would like to thank Environmental Health. I'd like to thank all the people that have been involved. I'd particularly like to thank our officers. And this is the last licensing meeting of this year as far as the council goes. I think it's actually the last meeting as far as councillors go this year. So thank you so much to all of the officers and to everyone that has helped us throughout the year. And have a good evening, everybody.